Low-rise jeans, bad tattoos, and boys in the DJ booth. Before we go any further, there's some backstory I've been sitting on, and I think it's finally time you got the uncut version. It's 2007 and I'm 16, driving to private school in a Catholic uniform that racks up more violations than parking tickets. My skirt is too short, my socks are wrong. I bring home a note about it roughly once a week, filed away with all the others, like it's a Vogue subscription I never canceled. I'm cutting through Topanga Canyon because that's the only way to get from my side of the hill to school. Windows down, radio too loud, driving like I have somewhere to be, when in fact, the only thing waiting for me is a Spanish test I am about to fail spectacularly. Every morning, at almost the exact same bend in the canyon, a bedazzled Range Rover passes me going the other way. The Kardashians, right on schedule, off to their school on the opposite side of the hill. I don't know them. I will probably never know them. But I watched that car go by for years, rhinestones catching the light, and something about it does something to me. It isn't envy, not in the way you'd expect. I never looked at that car and thought goals, the way it seemed to rearrange every other girl in the valley's whole personality. It was stranger than that. I looked at it and understood, even then, that I never wanted to be in it. What I wanted was to know everything about the road it was driving on. Now, this is where a plot twist gets revealed, and it doesn't exactly fit into a simple character arc. I look like I belong in that car. I look like I would have gotten a Range Rover for my 16th birthday, easily. I look like I wrote the manual, the one every girl wishes someone had handed her. The tan, the hair, the whole fluent since birth quality to it. And the truth is, I did write the manual, but not because any of it came naturally. I wrote it because I had no other choice. It was purely survival. I am also, for the record, dyslexic, very dyslexic. I've never once scored above a C on a single test, and I fell for every trick question with total conviction. Some small deranged part of me was always convinced there had to be a universe where the wrong answer was correct. I have taken every personality test known to man ever since, hunting for an explanation. They all arrive at the same verdict, delivered in the same faintly disappointed tone. You're rare, not in a good way. So I did the one thing that made the least sense to everyone I knew, and I went to film school. Yes, I was the only blonde with a fake tan and an unfortunately large, aggressively natural chest in a room full of black turtlenecks, debating French cinema like their lives depended on it. I spent most of college convinced someone in the admissions office had clearly made an error. I grew up 25 minutes from Hollywood. At the exact moment the Hills and Keeping Up with the Kardashians were busy teaching an entire country what the city was supposed to look like. And I looked the part perfectly, while almost wanting none of it. So I built a version of myself that could move through those rooms completely undetected, blend in seamlessly, get close enough to watch everything, and then go quietly build something of my own once I understood how it actually worked. The outside of me was never lying, exactly. It was more like a disguise that happened to be extremely well-tailored. That confused people. It still confuses people. If I'd wanted to be an actress or the singer or the girl reading the news at 6 o'clock every night, everyone I knew would have relaxed and filed me into a category they actually understood. And nobody who knew me quite knew what to do with the girl who wanted to be on the wrong side of television on purpose. Now back to 2007. I would imagine you turned on the TV and saw this. Lauren Conrad, The Hills, a rotating cast of tan men in fitted t-shirts, some kind of ambiguous job titles at a fashion magazine, a club called Lidu, and a breakup filmed at Golden Hour. That was the dream. That was what made it to Michigan, or to whatever small town had you dreaming about a version of LA that came with a soundtrack and a narrative arc. What actually happened for me after graduation was much stranger, and frankly, much better. My friends and I crammed into small apartments across Santa Monica to the Hollywood Hills, working the deeply unglamorous side of the entertainment industry on purpose. Styling assistants, production coordinators, and we spent our nights not at Lidu, but at DJ sets in the back rooms of bars that did not have any signs, watching a guy named Kai spin vinyl for 11 people. We drank kombucha we could not technically afford, went to yoga classes we also could not afford, because vanity has never once respected a budget. We watched Buffy on a laptop balanced on a makeshift coffee table. We dated boys in skinny jeans with tattoos that meant absolutely nothing. Poetry majors turned bartenders, a guy who was about to sign with someone for the entire 3 years I knew him. Nobody was famous. Nobody was trying to be. It was an entire underground economy of industry-adjacent kids who worked in Hollywood and dated the other kids who worked in Hollywood, running completely parallel to the version everyone at home thought they were watching. That was the actual Ellie Cool Girl life, the origin for everything, and not the one with cameras following. The one where you're broke, resourceful, dressed impeccably for reasons you couldn't explain to your relatives, and genuinely, deeply happy in a way that never once needed an audience to witness it. Then came my decade working in reality television, and the part I don't think I've said clearly before. I was never interested in people once they were famous. That's when it always got ruined. The second everyone got media training and started saying all the right things in the right order. What I was actually obsessed with was who they were right before that happened. The actual conversations about boys, what they wore to a random Tuesday lunch, the version of a person that exists for about 6 months before a show turns them into a character. Most people who wash up in this industry are trying to escape a small town for a bigger life, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that was never my story. I grew up right next door to all of it. I wasn't running towards the fantasy. I was trying to preserve it, to get close enough to the real, unfiltered, pre-fame version of people, and somehow keep that intact before the industry got its hands on it. That's what 10 years in reality television actually was for me. My own personal, decade-long undercover mission into the lives of people right before they became famous. Because normal people, in my experience, are almost always the better story, and I wanted to be there for one last bit of it before it disappeared. There were boys, obviously. An indie phase I will never confirm nor deny happened more than once. Some exes who, without exaggeration, more or less run this town. There are things I know that I will take to my grave, and there are things I think about turning into the biggest expose you have ever read. Most days, I genuinely could not tell you which era I'm living in, the one where I disappear completely, or the one where I finally open the gates. For now, you're getting this version. The girl who spent her whole life 25 minutes from the spotlight, close enough to see everything, who built herself to blend into a world she never actually wanted, and who is only now realizing that the disguise and the girl wearing it were never supposed to be the same person. So this is for anyone who is like me, or who needed someone like me at some point and didn't have her. The ones who have barely set foot in a real office, who write emails that are technically one long, unbroken run-on sentence, who don't have a 401k because you'd rather bet on yourself than a pension plan. You have a vision nobody asked for, and you are so tired of explaining it to people who say, "Let's circle back," out loud, in an actual meeting, with their whole chest. Now, you might have grown up thinking that Andy Anderson from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is your hero. Well, I have news for you. She's not. Because you, if I know anything about you, would much rather spend a decade in a Venice bungalow, making art and breaking hearts before relocating to Saint Tropez in your 40s, because that is what interesting women do. That's the kind of spotlight I'm talking about here. The one that doesn't have a name yet. The one you don't get nominated for. The one that exists completely outside the story everyone is trying to tell you about what a successful woman's life actually looks like. When the truth is, it's so much harder to feel like you belong somewhere when nobody has written the part for you yet. You're here to date the musician, wear the low-rise jeans, and know with total unshakable certainty that at least 2 or more Spotify playlists were made about you, specifically. So in case this isn't totally clear yet, I've got stories I haven't told, and something tells me it's about time. We'll talk again soon. Love you. Bye.